We welcome you to a Victory Monday here on Panther Talk. Anish Shroff, Szoke and Eugene Robinson, and the head coach of the Carolina Panthers, Dave Canales. This is always more fun after a win for you and us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A lot to take away from that game, the resilience of the group, the effort, the toughness, the character. Nothing that I question from this group, but the execution, after early adversity, to settle in and just play some really good football was awesome. And to do it in a way that we believe in. We went into the game believing we could run the ball, and by the end of it, we did. And there were some series in there in the middle, where we went 3 and out a couple of times at the end, and our defense got us the ball back so we could continue to stay with that style and rhythm. But a collective effort, a great job by the staff, regrouping on Monday, looking at some personnel things, looking at some scheme things to try to get our best 11 out there doing what they can do the best, and making some improvements. So just a collective great effort and a commitment to just continuing to improve our team.
Dave, I go back to what I hear a lot of coaches say. You never want one game to beat you twice. And at 17-0, you could say it felt that way. What was the tipping point? What changed? What turned that game? Fundamental execution, and it was early on for the defense giving up some explosive plays, figuring that part out, finding solutions together, and then moving forward offensively. It was sustaining drives, and obviously it was taking care of the ball. When you give the ball up twice early on like that, it's hard to overcome that. But when you have a day like Rico Dowdle had, and you have 10 explosives on offense, the explosives can offset turnovers if you're able to get them. It doesn't always work out that way. And playing the field position battle, they beat us a couple times. We let the ball roll around a little bit. That's something that we got to improve. But it was going to the next series. It was refocus. It was staying together, finding solutions together, challenge the guys on Saturday night. A sign of a mature team is how you handle adversity, not how you handle success. Anybody can handle success, but how do you handle adversity? We took a step in the right direction as a team in terms of our maturity and our character to just get back to playing good football.
Coach, we heard this refrain about explosive plays, and I want you to really dive into it. What were the explosive plays that you saw from your team that really offset what you saw from the other team? Because you mentioned it before on Panther Talk about we need more explosive plays.
Yeah, so first and foremost, having Xavier Legette back out there playing the way we know he can play, and getting a touchdown for us, getting a big explosive play late in the game on a circus route, on a corner route versus cover 2, where he was disciplined about his route. He got his depth. He was where he was supposed to be when he was supposed to be there. And then, of course, Rico Dowdle finishing on the second level, and that was an all-11 effort. That was the wide receivers blocking downfield, engaging guys early, staying connected and running their feet, and then Rico running through arm tackles, which was amazing to just see him run with violence to create a couple of those explosives, and it was Bryce in a timely manner finding the open guy in critical situations, a scramble play to T-Mac, an early third down to T-Mac, Xavier down the field, Jimmy Horn in the fourth quarter, finding those types of plays and being an opportunist with those as we continue to build our team and believing in the run game. Down 17, we're still going to run the ball because we felt like that was going to be a good strategy against this team, and we stuck with it.
When you have a running attack like that, as you mentioned, the blockers, it doesn't happen without those guys in there as well. But Rico ripping through some of those tackles, averages 9 yards per carry. How does a team feed off that kind of energy? Because that is a different kind of an energy than short passing or whatever, that you're kind of physically dominating, somewhat breaking the will of the defense in those situations.
Yeah, this is a violent game, and I truly believe in how do we close the circle of toughness. Special teams is easy. Run and hit. It's mano a mano football on special teams, why I love it so much. On defense, it starts with the run game, playing tough up front, playing your gaps, setting edges, and then running to the ball all collectively to make sure you get the ball carrier down. And offensively, it's how you close the circle. We run the ball so that we're a tough physical football team collectively. And it's also about opportunities. When we continue to get first downs and we make those plays and we're efficient, we get more opportunities to run the ball. And then it's the war of attrition. And you just keep running and you keep running. And pretty soon those 4s and 5s become 6s and 7s, become 55s at times when you have the right runner. But it takes all 11 exploding off the ball and playing together.
The defensive front, let's start with
the way you guys stopped the run, 19 rushing yards. You very rarely see that in the NFL. What did you feel was the reason for that kind of success against their run?
Yeah, if you take it inside out, it was Ashawn, Bobby, and Derek, playing with their pads and numbers square to the line of scrimmage, knocking things back and running along the line. And then it was Pat Jones, DJ Wanham, Nick Scorton, even Princely. Princely got in there, had a really beautiful edge set, pushed the guy upfield, made a nice play on a perimeter run. But it was all those guys tied together, and then just watching Trevon Wallace and watching Christian Roseboom just run over the top and show up like you love to see inside linebackers play football, and of course our secondary got involved too, but it all starts up front. And then it's about just carrying over the execution throughout the week in practice, in the walkthroughs, in the meetings, over and over, talking through it, finding solutions. If a run gets out, what was the breakdown, fixing it, and those guys being committed to each other and then allowing it to show up like that on game day.
Where does that leadership come from on that defensive side of the ball where the communication, it ripples from the defensive line, linebackers to the secondary?
It's a collective effort, but it all starts with Derek Brown dominating your one-on-ones. When you get your one-on-ones, get your hands on a guy, lock him out, and push him back, and win the line of scrimmage. And it's playing with violence on the edges, which our guys are committed to. And AC Carter, our outside linebackers coach, does a great job of just drilling those types of situations: the cut situation, the stretch situation, the down block pull. How do we play all these things? And above all, we play it with violence. And if you're not perfectly right, just splatter it, block disruption. They say it over and over, block disruption. And that's the way our guys executed that plan.
He had only 2 sacks heading into the game, had 3 in the game yesterday, 9 tackles for loss as well. Was Ajero able to just dial up more often maybe some of the things that he wanted to do previous, because now you've reached a certain point in the season where you can have that confidence in the defense?
There were a couple of pressure blitz opportunities, but I think most of our sacks came off of just great timing and stunts. It was effort. It was technique, and the guys just continuing to get opportunities. You get more rush opportunities when you stop the run. And the more rush opportunities you get, the more you have a chance to set up your secondary rush. If you're a speed player, then maybe you have a spin. If you're a speed to power, then maybe it's a speed to power, and then you can slip them. So you can set things up the more opportunities you get when you stop the run on first and second down.
You mentioned at your press conference Trevon Wallace was the green dot, and go back to the first time he was in that role against Chicago last year, and we saw the Bears go no huddle, and he even said after, head was spinning, you're trying to keep everything together. How far has he come from then until what you saw on Sunday?
Yeah, Trevon's done an excellent job. He just continues to improve weekly, and there's things that he's got to clean up. He'll be the first one to say that. But that progression and that confidence, he's emerging as a vocal leader in what we're doing at this point. He knows the guys. He's played with most of the guys. So he just had a natural he's poised to be the green dot, to be in there more. Our dime packages where he stays on the field as the green dot, makes us a little bit faster when he's in there. He's a big and explosive player. And it really just freed up Christian Roseboom to just run and make tackles. He was a tackling machine last year in L.A., and that's why we brought him here, And so both guys being able to handle that transition was excellent for us yesterday.
The confidence of some young receivers, Jimmy Horn, his catch was a 4th down one, and he made a great play on a contested pass. Xavier Legette, certainly a contested pass. They made a great play on a good throw by Bryce Young there. What does that do for the confidence boost for those young guys as they get in that rotation even more moving forward now?
It was great to have them out there. They brought a lot of speed to our offense, and whether Jimmy was touching the ball or he was on a fake jet sweep, it affected the defense in a positive way for us. And a lot of our biggest runs, our most successful runs, came when Jimmy was a part of that formation in one way, shape, or form. So it's something that a really cool weapon for us to be able to continue to build off of. And then to just see Xavier just playing fast, playing physical in the run game too. That's the part that I was most proud of. Is this is really a game of physical dominance at times. And I truly believe as a former wide receivers coach that when you're a big, strong, and fast guy and you get your hands on a little pencil neck corner, our corners are massive, by the way. But but oftentimes if you can get your hands on someone in the secondary and they feel like you're 6'2.5", 230 pounds, and you run 4.3, there's something psychologically that goes into it. And also just because you're a part of our run game, it just helps build that type of attitude, that type of mentality it takes to be the aggressor. And it showed up in the pass game as well as he attacked the ball and the opportunities that he had.
Coach, you didn't vacillate back and forth when you decided to say, I'm going to stick with the run even though we're down. How much did you go back and go, okay, should I abandon this or not?
Yeah, it's always a choice. And in certain games where, like, we play in the Cardinals, they were playing us pretty well on the run, and they were massive up front, and they gave us some challenges, and we got behind. The strategy was, let's put the ball in Bryce's hands and see if we can't battle our way back into that one. In this game, we had an approach to come in here and find a way to run the ball. We felt like we had some good matchups inside, and I wanted to give Rico a chance to show us what he can do with this role. And I wasn't going to back off of the opportunity to be able to put our best foot forward. I've been on the other side of those types of games. I've been on the positive side of those games over the years in Seattle, and I've seen where when a team has a commitment to a way to win the game and you can stick to it, it gives confidence to the group, and the guys are asking for more, and the guys believe, and then they just continue to move on to the next series with aggression.
I know he cramped up a little bit, Rico, at the end. He wanted to get that 210, 211, maybe to break the record. Were you guys aware on the sidelines of that he could set the franchise record during the game?
I was aware of it. I was not going to allow that to affect how I called it or finishing the game. Don't get cute at the end. When you get a lead, it's 4-minute time, do this. When you're behind, you got to stay mixed and just continue to attack what they're presenting, So we had the awareness of it, but at the same time, like those are things that we can't make be a priority over trying to win the game.
The rookie class, especially in big spots. ETN comes in for a cramped Rico Dowdle, big first down run. Jimmy Horn, you mentioned the fourth down catch. Mitchell Evans, the game-winning touchdown. Those aren't first and second round picks. Like, those are fourth, fifth, sixth round guys. And when you see them come through in big spots late in the game, crunch time, what does that tell you?
First and foremost, got to give a lot of credit to the coaches. Talk about Rob Moore and Keyshawn Coleman and the amount of time that they spend with our young wide receivers to make sure that they're ready in between meetings, before meetings, after practice, all the little windows, trying to take advantage to make sure that these guys, they care about them so much. They want them to be successful when they go out there so they can have confidence. Pat McPherson, with the tight ends. And then also just like Dan Morgan, and the scouting staff for bringing us good football players to develop and giving us guys that, just good pieces of clay to continue to mold and shape into the players that we believe they can be. And the guys themselves, give them credit for the commitment to taking to coaching, to being receptive, and to giving everything they have every day, just trying to get one day better. And that's all we care about for these guys is, can we just be one day better? Can we be a week better when we get to the game?
All right, Dave Canales, head coach of the Carolina Panthers. Dave, pleasure as always. That was a fun one. Hope your heart rates come down a little bit on Monday.
Well, thanks a lot. I always come out of those games and I am spent. Everything you got,
done.
Everything you got, all the way as long as it takes, and then go kick your feet up and enjoy it.
And then do it again.
That's right.
Do it again. Dallas on Sunday. Dave Canales, head coach of the Carolina Panthers. You're listening to the Carolina Panthers Radio Network.